Hello everybody and welcome to our show today. Today we're going to be talking about how you can actually build business credit for your EIN that is not linked to your SSN. So I'm going to walk you through the steps, talk to you about everything you need to know to successfully build your commercial credit. By the end of this, you're going to be able to know exactly the steps. You're even going to be able to take action on the steps during the time today. So you'll be able to start building a commercial credit profile for your business that's not linked to your personal credit profile. For those that don't know me, my name is Ty Credo. I'm actually the CEO here at Credit Suite. I'm also the author of Business Credit Decoded. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to give us a ring, 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487, or send us an email, info@creditsuite.com. We also have a great free guide that maps out more in depth the steps to build business credit, and that's available at creditsuite.com/EIN. So let's jump in. So when we talk about business credit, we're talking about credit that is basically tied to your business's EIN, not your personal social security number. So hence your business basically must build credit to buy its goods and services it needs to buy, other than what you typically use your personal credit for, right? So you're used to personal credit where you could build a credit profile and use that established credit to be able to buy all kinds of goods and services that you need as an individual. Well, business credit's exactly the same thing, but what we're doing here is we're actually obtaining credit for the business and using that credit to buy the things the business needs to be able to grow and thrive. So inquiries for business credit do not go on your personal credit report, so they don't affect your personal credit scores. I mean, there's a lot of benefits here, but this is definitely one of them. We're talking about credit that reports to the commercial reporting agencies, not the consumer. So this credit you get doesn't report on your personal credit reports. Okay, so you could utilize it and have high balances and it doesn't adversely affect your consumer credit. There's no inquiries when you do this following the steps I'm going to show you, because they're not even looking at your personal credit. That means you can get approved regardless of personal credit quality, and it also means that there's no inquiries on your personal credit report. Now, that's a really big deal, because I can tell you in the business funding space, we have funding programs where even one inquiry can cost you $25,000 or $30,000 in funding. So I cannot state this enough. You need to make sure you minimize the inquiries on your personal credit report if you really want the ability to get the most amount of capital for your business. And we're also talking about your business and personal credit scores being very different from each other today. So we're talking about building credit scores for your business that are primarily based on how you pay your bills versus your personal credit scores, which take into account a lot of other things that aren't really taken into account in the business credit building world. So a lot of advantages here. With two separate credit scores, you can get two separate credit cards for the same vendor. So for example, you can have a Home Depot personal credit card, but if you go to Home Depot tomorrow and get another one, they're not going to give you one. But in the business world, you could have a commercial credit card with Home Depot. You could also have a consumer credit card. So with all these major retailers, and almost every major retailer offers corporate credit, you're actually able to have twice as much credit with them because you've got the consumer and the commercial credit cards with them. So that effectively doubles your borrowing power, really even more, because the limits are so high on business credit accounts. Business credit scores really depend only on whether you pay your bills or not. Two of the three primary scores with business credit building are strictly based on how you pay your bills. The other one is 85% based on how you pay your bills. So unlike consumer credit, where your utilization matters and inquiries matter and the time you've had credit matter, all these factors that are somewhat hard to control, like how long your credit profile has been open for, in the business credit world, your scores are based completely on what you can control, which means that you can just get accounts that report, pay your bills as agreed, and that will instantly give you a good score. Now, here's why this matters so much. In the business credit scoring world, the minute the reporting agencies like Experian and Equifax know your business exists, they automatically create a credit profile for you, and then they automatically give you a failing credit score because you have no credit. So that means you really need to focus on adding accounts that you're paying as agreed, because not only will that will give you a good score, but it will then reverse the bad score they give you because you have no credit by establishing positive credit and getting a good score because you're paying those bills as agreed. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, and how you can do a free search to see if the reporting agencies know you exist now. Now, personal credit scores depend on payments and all these other factors, including utilization, as I mentioned, that aren't really factors when it comes to commercial credit building. But you need to know that business credit building does not at all happen automatically, okay? This absolutely is not something that automatically happens. As a matter of fact, you have to really be aware of business credit building, because in the consumer world, most credit Well, it reports to the reporting agencies. We're used to that. If you go get a credit report or go get a credit card at Home Depot, or, well, let me just put it this way. If you go to Target and check out at Target, they're going to offer you their credit card, right? And if you get that credit card, it reports to your consumer credit report. So if you go to Home Depot or if you go to most places that will issue you credit, that credit reports. The problem is that in the business credit world, 97% of trade credit doesn't report to the business credit reporting agencies. So that means you've got to actively be working on building your business credit. You have to consciously be aware of the need to do this, because if you go and get credit at a lot of other places and think you're building business credit, you're typically not. We see this problem all the time. We have companies that have $5-10 million in revenue. They're trying to get bigger loans and they get denied because of business credit quality, and they come to us freaking out. And what we realize is they just don't have any business credit established, and again, they were issued a failing score because they have no credit. Now, this is hard to believe for them because sometimes they're spending millions of dollars with very large companies. But the problem is those companies aren't reporting their credit to the reporting agencies. So with business credit, you have to really be aware of the steps that I'm going to outline today, because if you're not, you're typically going to be getting credit with vendors that don't report the credit. It's estimated, as I said, over 97% of these trade vendors don't report. So even though you think you're building business credit because you're paying your business bills on time, most of the time those business bills aren't being reported. Now again, it can be done easily, can be done quickly, but you just got to know exactly the right steps to do so. And vendors that we're going to talk about a little bit later today are a big part of this process. So if you try to do these steps out of order, you're going to be turned down. And I can't say this enough because everybody wants to jump to the end. I'm going to talk to you today about how to go from getting the very beginning kind of credit to getting Visa card and MasterCard type credit. The problem is if you try to jump steps and try to get to the Visa MasterCard, you're going to fail. And I see a lot of people do this. We've got a Facebook group that has about 25,000 people in there that are actively working on building business credit. Some succeed, some fail. What's the difference? The ones that succeed follow these steps I'm going to give you in order. The ones that fail try to skip steps to get to the end faster. The result is they're getting declined again and again and again when they go to apply. So you've got to follow these steps in order that we're going to talk about today. And you cannot start at the top of business credit building. The easier way to say this is that you have to build a fundable foundation to begin with. You have to set up your fundability first. You have to be in a process where you're able to actually come in and build that business, build a foundation, then build business credit on top of that. If you try to start at the very end, then you're typically going to fail. Okay, that means you're going to have a lot of different problems if that's the case. So again, we know the order. I'm going to walk you through that order today so you know exactly the steps to do this. So let's talk about getting started. Your business must be fundable for lenders and vendors, okay? You have to have a professional website, email address. Now, just to let you know, we call this fundability. And the reality is, even though I'm going to give you, 5 or 10 fundability factors, there's over 125 factors that really tie into how fundable your business is. Okay, and if you don't set up that fundability, then that's a good reason that you could typically end up getting declined. As a matter of fact, I was just actually taking a look at this exact same thing. Let me see if I can actually pull this up. When I was looking at this with our team. So what happens is you're actually able to come in, and this is a look at fundability. So there's over 125 factors that tie into how fundable your business is. And any of these being off even a little bit can prevent you from getting all kinds of credit and financing. Now, what we're going to basically do today is zoom in on one of these parts of fundability and talk a little bit more about it. But this fundability becomes so important because that fundable foundation is what's needed for lenders and vendors to want to give you actual financing. So let's start with some of the basics. You need to have a professional looking website. You need to have a professional email address that goes with that website as well. My email is info@creditsuite.com, okay? And creditsuite.com is our actual domain. So that's what an email that's professional looks like going with a domain that's set up. You need to have a business phone number set up and a fax number. You need to have a toll-free number set up. If you're filling out an application for credit and it asks for a fax number, you should have a fax number there. You don't want to leave that field blank. You need to have a toll-free number, and most importantly, you need to get that phone number listed with 411. Now, you have a very limited time to do this with a company called listyourself.net. All listyourself.net does is list you with 411, but their technology is a little out of date. And as a result, they're getting ready to close their doors, probably, I'm pretty sure, in less than 30 days. So you have a limited time to do this. If you're not using a company like List Yourself, you have to go and organically wait for Google, Bing, all these places to pick up your phone number and then move that data into 411 itself. But you've got to make sure that phone number is listed with 411. This is one of these basic credibility requirements that a lot of vendors have, and they have this requirement because you can't fake it. 411 411.com is not 411. So if you're trying to go list your own phone number 411, you typically can't do it outside of a company like List Yourself. This is why vendors rely on it so much, because they want to see that your business has been around long enough to have credibility. And one of the easiest ways that they could do that is just see if your phone number is actually listed with 411. Again, get a toll-free number as well as a fax number, and make sure the main phone number is listed with 411. You need to have a bank account set up directly for the purpose of doing business. Now, there's a lot of benefits here. First of all, you've got what's called a bank rating, which is an internal bank score that the banking system determines how lendable you are. So down the road, if you ever want to go get SBA loans, for example, well, then they're going to look at, as one of these factors of your bank rating, how long your bank account's been open for. If your company ever changes ownership, they'll look at the bank account start date to see when your bank or business actually opened, other than your corporation start date. So that means if you open your corporation in 2010, okay, or your entity in 2010, and you open your bank account in 2015, and then you sold the business, well, they're going to look at when the bank account opened. Because of shelf corporations and things like that, a change of ownership throws up a red flag. So another benefit of having a business bank account. And when it comes to building business credit, a lot of times the sources are going to ask you for a bank reference. Well, you're not going to have a bank reference if you don't have a bank account set up. So you've got to set up that business bank account. You have to get any necessary licenses that you're going to need as well. Okay, and these licenses and everything else that lists your business information needs to have congruent information. Look, believe it or not, more than half of loan applications are denied not because you don't qualify. They're denied because they think the application is fraud. If you've ever experienced fraud from everything to do with selling a car to anything else in between, you have no idea the amount of fraud that banks are dealing with. And so banks err on the side of being cautious, which means if they have any indicators that the application you're submitting may be fraud, they automatically decline the application. Well, one of the biggest reasons that they interpret fraud is because the information you're putting on the application doesn't match places like the Secretary of State, or your licensing, or wherever your license is held, or your EIN with the IRS, or your bank account says something completely different than what's online, or your website says something different than Bing. In the commercial world, the reporting agencies like Dun & Bradstreet get information from Bing. They get it from Yahoo. They get it from your Facebook page. They've got crawlers out gathering all of this data. And when there's discrepancies, when there's things that don't add up, when there's incongruencies between the information, then it automatically throws off all kinds of red alerts. So you need to make sure that the information you have on your website, your business name, the exact spelling of your business name, okay, your phone number, your address, that all that stuff is the same everywhere it's listed online. Now, there's all kinds of services that you could actually get for this, like Yext, Y-E-X-T. They're one of the more expensive ones. But what they do is it's one place you can go enter your information, and it manages everywhere else online. So those are good places to consider if you ever change your name or address. So Credit Suite, when we changed our address years ago, we got Yext because we knew our old address was everywhere, and we needed it to be updated everywhere at once. So we got a service for that reason. So if you ever change addresses or change your information, you should do that. But you've got to make sure that that information is congruent. Your name, your address, your phone number, all the information that's listed out there is listed exactly the same way. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the IRS. You're going to want to go visit the IRS website. You're going to want to get an EIN after you set up your entity. Now, when it comes to setting up an entity, you really should probably choose a corporation or an LLC. You want to stay away from sole proprietors because part of the benefit of building business credit is that you're going to be getting credit without personal liability, without personal guarantees. Okay, so it becomes very important if you want to get away from personal guarantees that you're in an entity that you can do so. And if you're a sole proprietor, for example, then the issue is that you're not going to be able to get away from personal guarantees because being a sole proprietor, you're always going to be personally liable for what's actually happening in your business. So choose the right entity, okay? Not to mention that a sole proprietorship, you have a 1 in 7% chance of getting audited with the IRS. A corporation has a 1 in 50% chance of getting audited with the IRS. So set up your proper entity, and then the next step is you want to go and get that EIN for free with the IRS. Now, that being said, you want to go to irs.gov to do this. I saw somebody in our Facebook group that had this problem the other day. They went and typed in get an EIN, an ad popped up, or one of those links that's really an ad that for a company that makes themselves look like the IRS. They went all the way through the process, and then they were charged a fee to set up the EIN. The EIN setup is free, but it's only free if you do it directly with the IRS, and you can only do that with irs.gov. Okay, that's the only way that you can get that done. So you can start off as a sole proprietor, but like I mentioned, you're probably going to want to switch to one of these other entities for tax purposes and also for liability reasons. Okay, it matters mostly when it comes to those two things. When you're setting up an entity, it really matters in the kind of taxes that you're going to pay and the liability. So I always recommend that you talk to an actual accountant. But again, for my purpose of liability, of helping you get away from guarantees, because let's be honest, you don't want to continue to personally guarantee and be personally liable for what happens in your business. In order to do that, you've got to get away from that sole proprietorship. Okay, now a partnership even can work, but you want to stay away from a sole prop or get away from it as soon as you can. Now, if you operate your business as a sole proprietorship or a DBA, you need to mention that DBA whenever you're applying for financing as well. They're going to need to see your full business name. Okay, and if you are going to choose a sole proprietorship, then at least make sure that you get a DBA so your business name is not your actual personal name. Okay, so that becomes important as well. We talked a little bit about the IRS auditing as well. So starting with the reporting process. So the next thing, so we've come in and we've set up the basic foundations of a business. And just keep in mind, I'm just scratching the surface here with all the things you really need to focus on setting up that business credibly. Another thing I recommend is do some research on the best NAICS code for your business. Basically, the SIC code was the old way that the IRS uses to identify your business based on the industry you're in. The NAICS code is the new way the IRS does it. It just has more categories to actually categorize your business. This becomes important because a lot of businesses are high risk just based on the industry that you're in. So, for example, Credit Suite, we have a choice. We could be financial services or we could be software. So we chose software because software, everything we sell is actually what related to our business credit building and financing software, but we also chose it because we know that financial services is considered to be high risk. So when we go to get merchant accounts or bank accounts or loans, they see our NAICS code as being a software service company. Okay, so again, find the SIC code or the NAICS code that makes the most sense for your business and then use that on your taxes. Make sure that's what the reporting agencies have. If they have something different, then challenge them and give them the correct information. Don't let the credit bureaus, lenders, and such control what your NAICS code is. Okay, we've challenged that more than once, where a lender says, well, you're actually financial services. And we say, no, we're not. We're actually a software company. Here's our taxes. Here's the credit bureau reports from the business credit reporting agencies. If the business credit reporting agencies say that we're in this NAICS code, and if the IRS says we're in this NAICS code, then how can you say something different? And they couldn't challenge that. So choose your own NAICS code. Try to choose a business name that doesn't reflect that you're in a high-risk industry as well. The easiest way I explain fundability is this. Whenever you're filling out an application for business credit or financing, think about what they're asking you for and make sure that the answer you put on that application reflects that you're setting their business up credibly. If it asks for an address and you're putting a home address on there, does it really make you look credible that you're using a home address? Of course it doesn't. Does it make you look credible that you're using a PO box or a UPS address? It doesn't. So you want to get a real physical business address or a virtual address that gives you the perception of having a real physical business address. You want to have that phone number and the toll-free number. You want to have that website set up. If it asks for a fax number, don't leave it blank. Fill out a fax number. Every line item on that application should reflect that your business is set up credibly. And if you feel that it doesn't, if you get to that point and go, yeah, I'm using a PO box, well, then you probably want to make that change before you apply so you avoid getting denied. Okay, not to mention that Dun & Bradstreet is now putting Google Street Map views of your actual business location on your business credit reports. Okay, so we have people that freak out because they see a picture of their house on their business credit report. If you don't want that to happen, then don't use your house and your home address as your business address. Don't use a cell phone as your phone number for the business. Does that make you look credible? They know that. Their computers that these lenders and credit issuers know are using automatically indicate whether you're using a home phone, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's a business phone. Even voice over IP numbers are okay, but stay away from anything that makes you look unprofessional. Now, once you've set up that business fund foundation, and again, when it comes to fundability, there's plenty of information on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/credit suite where you can get a lot more information as we dive into this topic. We're just scratching the surface here on this training. So the next thing you want to do is get set up with the reporting agency. And you're going to do that by getting your DUNS number with Dun & Bradstreet. Now, this is a 9-digit number that's used to identify your business worldwide. So your EIN number is the number that's used in the United States for the IRS to recognize your business as being legitimate. The DUNS number is used worldwide by countries all over the world that identifies your business as well. And you've got to have this number in order to get any kind of credit score with Dun & Bradstreet. Now, Dun & Bradstreet refers to this as a Paydex score, and you've got to have that DUNS number to get a Paydex score. As a matter of fact, you have to have two things: a DUNS number, and you need 3 accounts reporting to Dun & Bradstreet. If you don't have both of those, you're not going to get that Paydex score. So you've got to get that Paydex score because that's one of the main scores that's used by lenders and credit issuers. Now, once you're in D&B's system, then you want to search Equifax and Experian sites as well. And here's that link I promised you earlier: creditsuite.com/reports. At this link, you can do a free search with Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian to see if your business is set up now. When you go to that link, you're going to be able to click on D&B, Equifax, or Experian, enter your basic business information, and it's going to either pull up no record or it's going to pull up a record and say you do or don't have trade lines. At that point, if it pulls up a record, you need to get your business credit reports, because again, at that point, one of two outcomes is there. You either have trade lines, and if you don't know that you have trade lines now, you probably want to see what those trade lines are and how they're being reported, or you have no trade lines, and that's even more problematic because, like I said, if Equifax and Experian know your business exists and you have nothing reporting, they're automatically going to give you failing business credit scores. So you got to check to see, do they know you exist now? And you can do that at creditsuite.com/reports. Okay. Now, if you have a record with them, then check it for accuracy and completeness. Okay. And Amari just chimed in chat and says, that's true. Office Depot checked my location and denied me because of home address. Yes, Amari, that happens. Walmart's the same way. As a matter of fact, talking about Office Depot, we actually had somebody that was declined before they came to us to work with them because the phone number that Office Depot had on record wasn't exactly the same as what was on the application. So there's all kinds of these examples. We see thousands of these examples monthly from people that are coming to us to try to build business credit and failing. So very, very, very important that you make sure that that information is accurate, because if they see discrepancies, that's what gets you turned down. So if you have a record with them, then you want to check it for accuracy and completeness. If you don't have records with them, then you want to go to the next step in the process. So this way, the reporting agencies are going to have something to report on. Look, here's what happens. How do they know you exist? Because you file annual reports with your Secretary of State. Every year you file an annual report with your Secretary of State. When you do that, then that information is picked up by the reporting agencies. They populate a credit report, and you're typically given that failing score. So if there's no record, you want to start right away building business credit so the first information they get from you is positive. So let's talk about starting from the beginning. You start building business credit with the vendor credit tier. Okay, these are initial trade lines you're going to get on your business credit reports. Actually, there's 2 ways. And as I wrap up this vendor credit tier training, I'm going to tell you the second way that you could build initial business credit. Now, these are often net 30 terms. Sometimes they're net 50, sometimes they're net 55 or net 45. And what that means is it means you have that time period to pay that back. Okay, so for example, a net 30 account means you have 30 days to pay back that account in its entirety. Now, I know you may be saying, well, I don't want to pay it back in 30 days. I want like a regular revolving credit card. Remember, this is just the beginning step. See, when you start getting credit cards as a consumer, if you're just getting started, you're typically going to start with a secured credit card, right? So you get a $500 limit, you give the credit issuer $500, and then they give you credit that reports worth $500, right? And then you pay interest on your own money. Kind of crazy. This isn't very popular in the business world. There is a secured credit card, Wells Fargo, but I don't really recommend it because they do a credit pull, and your credit has to be pretty good to get it. In the business credit world, you don't start with secured credit cards. You start with these net accounts. They're typically like net 30. So it does help you ease cash flow because you have 30 or 45 or 55 days to pay back that amount that you're putting on credit, but we're one step before the revolving accounts. Now, you're going to need about 5 to 8 of these to move on to the next tier that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So let's talk about a few of the popular ones. Uline.com. They sell shipping supplies, packaging, industrial supplies. They report report to Dun& Bradstreet. They're going to require that DUNS number. But remember, I told you we've got to follow the right steps. So if you've following with me so far, you should already be in a place where you have your DUNS number. So you should be okay with Uline. Now remember, see what Uline's doing. And this is why I'm teaching you the system. Uline is coming in and saying, okay, you want credit with us? Let's see if you have the basics that we need. They don't expect somebody that's just a novice to know that they need a DUNS number or something set up with Dun & Bradstreet. So I gave you the inside information that helps you get approved with Uline, where if you didn't follow these steps, you wouldn't be able to get approved because the data that they're checking, your DUNS number, you wouldn't have. Okay, now they're going to want 2 references and a bank reference. The bank reference, remember I told you, we set up the bank account already in this process. So now you have that bank reference and you need 2 other references as well. These can be any kind of credit issuers, even when they're not reporting their credit now. Now, you may have to prepay a few orders with them. What I found with Uline and Quill, if you have no credit reporting, if you're newer in business, or if you did not follow my steps to set up your fundability, they may make you place 2 or 3 orders before they'll give you the net 30 account. Here's how that looks. I go to Uline, I put stuff in my shopping cart. I go to checkout, I apply for credit. It gives me an option of being invoiced later. And then they come back and say, yeah, sorry, we can't do that. You know what I do? I buy the stuff in my shopping cart and I do it again. And by the 3rd time I've done this, they will approve you. We've never seen a case where they didn't approve somebody on the 3rd time. Now, if you set up the fundability steps the right way, then chances are good you don't need to buy 2 or 3 times to get approved. They may just approve you right away. It really has to do with if you're setting up that fundable foundation that we talked about. Quill is another one, Quill.com. They sell office supplies, packaging supply, over 1 million items. It's impossible for you not to find something that you need at Quill, and pretty much impossible with Uline is too. That's why I gave you these 2, because there's so much stuff that you're going to want to buy that you can get there. They report to D&B and Experian, so you're building business credit with 2. This is very important. I'm going to teach you something very important here. If you want to build business credit quickly, then you need to know about payment experiences. Payment experiences are what we call the reporting of an account to the business credit reporting agency. So for example, I just showed you Uline, and Uline reported to D&B. That counts as 1 payment experience. But when you get Quill, you see Quill reports to D&B and Experian. That gives you 2 payment experiences. So you're going to see that when I tell you, remember I told you in order to move to the next tier, retail credit, you need 5 to 8 accounts, right? Well, the reality is you need 5 to 8 payment experiences. So if you get credit like Quill, then you're building your credit faster because you're getting 1 account that reports to 2 reporting agencies, giving you 2 payment experiences, which is double as effective as what Uline would be where you only have 1 payment experience. Huge tip right there. So if you want to expedite business credit building, you find the credit issuers that have the more they report to, basically, the better you are, the more payment experiences you're getting. Now again, they may make you set up and place a couple orders before they approve you if your D&B score isn't established, if your DUNS number isn't set up, but that's okay. Okay, that's a small sacrifice to make. I don't care if they make me place 2 or 3 orders. They're giving me commercial credit when nobody else will. It's a small sacrifice to spend 25 or 50 bucks on pre-orders with them because they're going to give me that ability. So again, you might have to place a few orders. If you set up a fundable foundation, you're typically going to get approved. Okay, so let's jump to Grainger. Grainger.com. They sell industrial supplies, safety products. They report to D&B, okay, as well. Now, Grainger, not as easy to get stuff with. When I started using Grainger, I got batteries because I have an 8 and 10-year-old kid. So I can't have enough batteries around for my kids. And I own an office, right? So because I have an office, I have a keyboard. I've got all this other stuff that uses batteries as well. Bottom line is we all need batteries. So there are first aid kits. Again, 8 and 10-year-old kid, employees, we all need first aid kits are laying around. So when you have first aid kits and batteries, don't think that just because Grainger sells industrial supplies, there's nothing you could buy there. If you look, there's always that kind of stuff that you're going to need for other purposes. Remember, this is a small sacrifice to make to build that initial commercial credit profile. You go from non-existent or bad credit Boom, one account reporting to Experian and Equifax gives you a good score. So you're going from no credit or non-existent to being established in the commercial credit world. It's a small sacrifice to buy batteries a little bit earlier, for example, than you may need them. So there's some things that you can buy at Grainger other than just the normal industrial supply stuff. Now you got to know what's happening. So now you're getting credit with these companies. Okay, you're getting credit. Here's how it looks. You get the credit. You go in, exactly as I walked you through with Uline. You got stuff you like, you put it in your cart, you apply for Invoice Me, you check out, and then you don't have to give them a credit card. And then they ship the items. Okay, now you never pay these bills until after the item ships. The item has to ship for it to consider to be credit. Otherwise, they would consider it to be a cash transaction. So you wait for the item to ship. Once the item ships, boom, you pay the bill. Now you've got to you got to see what's going on. You want to get your business credit reports because you need to see those accounts you just paid actually showing up on your business credit reports. Remember I told you, you need 5 to 8 accounts to move on to the next tier. Well, how do you know you have 5 to 8 accounts reporting if you can't actually physically see your credit reports? So you've got to make sure that this credit is getting reported, and you got to address any errors as soon as possible. Now, I have a long link here, but you don't need it. All you need is creditsuite.com/monitoring. If you go to creditsuite.com/monitoring, which is monitoring, like credit monitoring. So creditsuite.com/monitoring, you can get Dun & Bradstreet and Dun & Bradstreet and Experian for only $24 a month. Guys, I'll show you the links, and you're going to be able to go directly to the reporting agencies, but Dun & Bradstreet will charge you about $150 a month, and Experian will charge you $50. So if you go to Experian and D&B Direct, you'll pay $200 a month worth of reporting for them. I just got you a 90% discount by you going through our nav integration at creditsuite.com/monitoring. Now you can go to dandb.com/credit-builder, but that's going to cost you $149 a month for a service you absolutely do not need. Okay, D&B's Credit Builder is where you can take existing accounts you already have and add them to your Dun & Bradstreet credit report. Not a bad thing. The problem is most accounts that you have, they won't report. They won't let you use credit cards or bank credit. They won't let you report utilities. They won't let you report your rent. Almost all the things you would normally pay on a monthly basis, they won't even accept. Okay, not to mention the fact that if you only build credit with Dun & Bradstreet, you're going to have huge problems. So you don't need Credit Builder. They'll try to call and sell you Credit Builder when you get your DUNS number. If Dun & Bradstreet ever calls you and ever emails you, I'm going to make you a promise. They're trying to sell you something. And they're typically trying to sell you something you don't need. And they're really good salespeople. Really good salespeople. I've recorded my calls with their permission so I can actually listen to their whole sales pitch. And they're very, very, very good. If you don't want to be hard sold by D&B, don't call them back and don't email them back when they tell you to call. They're only ever trying to call you to sell you something. So you can go get Credit Builder to monitor your credit reports, but you don't need to because it's $150 a month if you go that route. If you go to smartbusinessreports.com, Experian place for business credit reports, it's $50 a month. So why pay $200 when you can get it for $24? You can go to creditsuite.com/monitoring, but I wanted to give you the direct links, I don't know, in case you do want to go pay more. Okay, and you can go to equifax.com/business/business-credit-monitor -small-business for their business credit reports as well, or you could just Google Equifax business credit reports. So update your information if there are any errors or if there's incomplete. Now, Dun & Bradstreet makes this free. It's through a service called iUpdate. iUpdate is Dun & Bradstreet's service that you can use to update any information on your business credit reports. It's completely free. You do not need to have credit monitoring with them. So if you see inaccuracies, you go there. So I gave you an example earlier. I didn't like that they had the wrong NAICS code. So I disputed that with the actual reporting agencies and had them corrected. If you see any of those kind of errors, you want to fix it. Experian, you can go to experian.com/small-business/business-credit-information to do that, or you can again just get your credit reports with Experian or Equifax. Equifax is equifax.com/business/small-business. So D&B, Equifax, and Experian, okay, you can dispute with all three of them. Equifax and Experian, you're going to need to get credit monitoring with them typically to dispute. D&B makes it free and easy through iUpdate, but if you have inaccuracies on your business credit reports, I recommend pulling them, monitoring them, and then coming in and disputing any information you may have on there. Now let's move to the next tier. With 5 accounts or more reporting, you're able to start getting what I call the retail credit tier. Now keep in mind, I'm giving you a range. I'm saying with 5 to 8 accounts you can get here. Why I'm giving you a range is that every credit issuer is different. Home Depot may approve you with 8 accounts reporting, whereas Staples may approve you with 5. So the retail credit tiers, some of them want 5 accounts, some want 6, some want 7, some want 8. But the vast majority of them, you can get approved with their kind of credit if you have 5 to 8 accounts reporting on your business credit reports. That's the retail credit tier. Now this is Office Depot, it's Staples, it's Sam's Club, it's Costco, it's Best Buy, okay? Almost every major retailer from Nordstrom to Macy's offers this kind of commercial credit, and this all fits into what I call here the retail credit tier, because these are basically retailers. Okay, they're retailers that are offering credit cards. So if you want these retail credit cards, then this is what happens in this step. Now, this is no joke in this step, okay? So many people say, get me the Visa card, get me the MasterCard, but you're looking at it the wrong way. Almost everything you need to buy, you can buy right here in this tier. So I'm in an office environment. Well, we live in Amazon. We live in Office Depot and in Staples, okay? And even in Quill. So those are the kind of credit issuers that we get credit with, that we buy a lot of things with. We get our computers, right? You can get Apple, you can get HP, you can get credit with all those credit issuers. So again, this is where you can get computers and office chairs and equipment and all the stuff that you're going to pretty much need to run an office. Maybe you're out in the field. Well, if you're out in the field, well, then you can get Home Depot and Lowe's if you're in the construction industry, or all these different retail cards that can account for probably 80% of what you need to buy anyways. You can use your EIN on these credit applications. If you actually use, what'll happen is this. It used to be, as of 2018, my training was never supply your social security number on the application. Now it's changed, because June of 2018, they came out with a new law that now requires banks to get your social security number for verification purposes only. This is very important. So you, never want to offer your social unless you have to. If they make you put the social on the application, then what you need to do at that point is you need to then let them know, I am not giving you permission for a credit pull at all. I'm not authorizing a credit pull. You never want to sign off. You never want to give them authorization for a credit pull. If you're looking at an online application process and it looks like they're telling you that you're going to authorize a credit pull, call them. Call them and tell them. Say, look, I am not authorizing a credit pull. I will give you my social to verify my identity, but I am not authorizing a personal guarantee or credit check. If you are clear with them and you never sign off and give them the information, giving them the ability or permission to do this, then you're going to be okay. Okay, so one example here is Lowe's. They report to D&B, Equifax, and Experian, and they want to see your DUNS number, a Paydex score of 78. So this gives you an example of what happens in the retail credit tier. Now remember, you're not going to have a DUNS number, then you're not going to get approved. That's why we did this already. A Paydex score of 78 literally by definition means you pay your bills on time, and at this point you have 5 to 8 accounts reporting. I told you to pay your bill as soon as you can, especially as soon as the item ships. Some retailers like Office Depot and Staples, they won't even let me pay the bill until they populate a statement, but we look, and the minute our online statement is available, we pay the bill. Because why wouldn't you? Your payments, your scores are completely based on how you pay your bills. That's a game I can play and win all day long. All I have to do is pay my bills as early as I possibly can to get a great score. And then if you ever forget about a bill or go late, you paid so many others early that it'll compensate in your score for the one you go late on. So pay your bills as soon as you possibly can. So all Lowe's is looking for here, beyond the right number of trades, is that you have that DUNS and that Paydex score reflecting that you're paying the bill as agreed. Okay, so that walks you through that tier. Now the next tier is really the fleet credit tier. This happens at about 8 to 10 accounts reporting. Okay, these are companies like BP, Conoco, Chevron that you can buy fuel, auto repairs, maintenance. Okay, so for example, if we look at Shell, they reported all Experian and D&B. They want to see that Paydex score reflecting you pay your bill as agreed, 411. Okay, and they may even ask you for a certain time of business or revenue, but again, you can typically compensate for this based on trade lines. Let me stop right here. You and I, if you work in an office, I don't care about fleet credit. I don't own a fleet credit card. You know why? Because I don't have a fleet of cars. Like, I drive my own car to work. I don't have a fleet of cars. Everybody in our office, they all drive their own vehicles to work. But if you're a truck driver, well, this is exactly what you need. This is the fuel, this is the repair, this is the maintenance of vehicles. So some of this credit doesn't apply to you. You might not even want Best Buy if you don't work in an office because you might not need computers, right? You might not want fleet credit unless you're an over-the-road trucker or in transportation where this could be your whole livelihood is based on your ability to get this kind of credit because it's $1,000 to fill up a big rigs truck, right? $600 to $1,000. The other thing I want to step in here and say is notice how last time I told you they were basically, when we looked at this other tier as an example of lows, Paydex, Duns, and the right amount of trade lines. Now look at my requirements here. Paydex and 411. Well, they already know you have a Duns because you have a Paydex, but you notice Lowe's doesn't care about the 411. I showed you the credible foundation being fundable because some lenders will care that you have a home address, some won't. Some credit issuers will care that you're listed with 411, some won't. So I tell you this because you may come in and get Lowe's when you're not listed with 411 and go, Ty was wrong. I just got Lowe's. Yeah, you did. But then when you came in here and you try to get Shell, you get denied because you don't have 411. So all these fundable foundation things, some of them use it, some of them care you have a home address, some of them care that you have the 411, some care that you have the Duns, and some don't. But when you set up the business where it's fundable from the beginning, you have the best chance of getting approved for all these sources. The final thing I want to mention here is that, look, all of these applications will tell you that you need a time in business or revenue requirement. I'm going to tell you a secret. It's not true. It's completely bogus. What it comes down to is the number of trade lines you have. Yes, if you have the time in business, and yes, if you have the revenue, it's much easier to get approved with these sources. But you show me somebody that has 15 trade lines, I'm going to show you somebody that can get a Shell card all day long, even if they don't have a time in business and revenue requirement Shell says you must have. Meaning their systems, their computers, their algorithms that are automatically issuing approvals will look at these trade lines as a massive compensating factor for revenue and time in business. That's why I'm teaching you the guaranteed way to do it. Okay, yeah, if you have revenue of $1 million and if you have time in business of 3 years, fantastic. It's easier for you. Congratulations. You know how many people are probably watching this that have neither of those? Well, guess what? All hope isn't lost. You just need to compensate by trade lines, by those payment experiences. Add as many payment experiences as you can. If you want to expedite business credit building, get as many payment experiences as you can, because the more of those you have, the faster you're going to navigate through these steps of building business credit. That brings us to the cash credit tier. When we look at the cash credit tier, the cash credit tier is all about getting Visa card, MasterCard kind of credit. Now, I'm going to be clear here. Some people listen to my training and think that I'm saying you get a credit line here. That's not what I'm saying. Absolutely not. I consider a credit line to be a kind of business financing, and that's a topic for a whole different other training. For this one, I'm talking to you about Visa cards, MasterCards, cash credit you can use in most other places, okay? And Omari chimed in and said, are the online applications okay? Yeah, they typically are. But if they make you fill out and give authorization for a personal guarantee or credit check, you want to avoid those in that case. And Omari also says, everyone please check your credit reports. I'm trying to get information on a company that reported erroneous. So you do want to keep an eye on those credit reports for that same reason. Keep your social off the applications if you can. We just talked about that as well. And D&B Fuelman MasterCard is one of these examples. They report to D&B and Equifax. They require 10 trade lines reporting, a 78 score or higher with D&B and $10,000 high. This is very common. You're typically going to need 10 to 14 accounts reporting to get cash credit, and one of those has to have a $10,000 high credit limit. You know how you get a $10,000 high credit limit? Use the credit. Okay, don't go get credit just to get credit. Use credit you're actually going to use. Because if you get credit you're actually going to use, then you use the credit, then that is what gets you higher and higher limits. So if I come into Office Depot and they give me a $2,000 limit, I need to start using that credit card. Then when I go to get Staples, and Staples sees that the highest amount of credit I used with Office Depot was $2,000, Staples is going to give me a $4,000 credit card. If you've ever looked at your business credit reports, there's something very interesting you'll notice. They don't list your credit limits. They list in its place the recent amount of high credit you've used. So what they're telling you is that using the credit is even more important to these credit issuers than what the limit is. So get the credit you're going to use and use it. And that's what will get you the higher and higher limits to get to 10,000, which you should be able to get to naturally before you get to this point. So there are companies like Walmart, Dell, Office Depot, Home Depot, BP, Racetrack. Some of these will require 10 to 14 or more, but See, everything I'm mapping out is based on the number of trade lines. If you have the right number of trade lines, you're typically able to come in and get approved. Okay, always use the credit responsibly. Don't borrow more than you can pay off. Keep track of when those are due and pay those on time or early. This isn't consumer credit, ladies and gentlemen. In consumer credit, you have 30 days to go late before it reports to the reporting agencies. In the business world, you get reported late when you're late. A day late. We call it DBT, days beyond terms. So even when you're 1 day late, it starts hurting you. So you've got to make sure that you manage that credit responsibly, okay? Now, good business credit score help you get loans, okay? There are going to be a lot of benefits here. They know your business is for real when you have it. Now, just because you build business credit doesn't mean you're going to automatically start getting loans and credit lines, but it's going to be a heck of a lot easier because your business credit controls whether you'll get approved, the rates and terms you'll pay, and how much you'll actually get approved for. So let's recap. You got to create that fundable business first, that foundation. Get the EIN, get the entities set up everything that makes your business look credible. Get that DUNS number with Dun & Bradstreet. Get started with that vendor credit. Then you're going to monitor to see those accounts reporting. Then you're going to move on to that retail credit when you have 5 or more accounts reporting. Then when you have 10 or more, you move on to fleet credit. And then with 10 or 14 accounts reporting, you move on to that cash credit tier. And of course, remember that responsible credit management is the key. Whew, we made it through, right? So I really walked through exactly the steps that you want to take. Now, if you have questions along the way, then reach out to us, 877-600-2487. Email us, info@creditsuite.com. Grab our free guide at creditsuite.com/EIN. Look, not to do any self-promotion, but look, it's just the way that it is. If you're doing this on your own, it may take you a year or 2 years to get to where we can get you to in 4 to 6 months. So if you're interested in working with us to build business credit, then give us a shot. Get us on the phone. Give us a ring. Send us an email, because what you'll find is it's cheaper to work with us than do it on your own, because there's so many things that are part of our system that we give to you, like 411 listing at no cost, that you don't have to pay for. There's so many benefits that we try to make sure that it's cheaper for you to do it with us, and you expedite your business credit building, and we'll work with you on very affordable payments that aren't even listed on our website. So if we can help you through this process and you want to get money, and getting money quickly matters to you, then give us a ring where we can help you along the way. Also, don't forget to check out our other free training. At the top right of our website, creditsuite.com, you'll find that we have daily tips on Instagram. We have daily tips on Twitter. We go live on YouTube. I'm about ready to go live on Facebook as well, right about in 15, 20 minutes. Okay, so we go live on Facebook weekly. We go live on YouTube weekly. And we have a podcast that's very popular that gets a lot of downloads because people are listening on the go. So you can listen to this training in your car on the go as well. So you can check out our podcast and all those other links at the top right of our page. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the engagement. I love what YouTube has done. It makes it easy for me to actually see your comments and engage with you through this process. And don't forget to let us know whenever we can help you along the way of building your business credit. creditsuite.com, or give us a ring at 877-600-2487. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.